All right, diving in today, we're tackling Hell's Paradise, Jigokuraku, but not just skimming the surface.
Nope, we're going deep.
Exactly. We've got a whole pile of IMDb reviews, and we're going to see what viewers are really saying.
Beyond the star ratings, what's the good, the bad, the ugly?
Is it worth your time, right? That's the big question.
Exactly.
Okay, so basic setup. We've got Gabimaru.
Death Row Ninja.
Yeah, Death Row Ninja. Gets a chance for a pardon.
But there's a catch.
Always a catch. He has to find the elixir of life.
On a crazy, dangerous island.
Oh, yeah. Not a tropical vacation. More like death around every corner, from what I hear.
And he's not alone. A whole crew of criminals, each with their own executioner bard.
Sounds like a recipe for chaos, like classic adventure anime setup, right?
You'd think so, yeah. You've got your quest for immortality, the unlikely hero.
Those shonen vibes.
But here's where it gets interesting. A lot of reviewers are putting Hell's Paradise in the same category as Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man.
Oh, yeah, the dark shonen trio, right.
Exactly. And one review even said straight up, not for everyone.
I can see why they'd say that, because you get these contrasting descriptions. Dark, yet somehow wholesome. Sad, but thrilling. Disturbing, but also kind.
Yeah, it's playing with those expectations, making you think, is this going to be messed up or heartwarming? Or both?
Exactly. And that's the first thing I think viewers should consider. Do you like that complexity, that mix of tones?
It's a good gauge for whether this show's your cup of tea.
Now, speaking of atmosphere, can we talk about the island itself?
Oh, the setting is wild.
The reviews are painting these vivid pictures. You've got your lush scenery, beautiful plants and animals, like something out of a Miyazaki film.
But then, bam, monstrous creatures.
And these ancient rituals, super creepy vibes.
It's like paradise and nightmare all rolled into one.
Which seems to be working, based on what people are saying.
The setting itself adds to the suspense, the mystery. You never know what's lurking around the next bend.
And in the middle of it all, you've got Gabimaru, our death row ninja.
He's an interesting one.
Right? I'm curious, have you come across this type of character before? Cold, almost emotionless on the surface.
But then you get these hints of depth.
Yeah, like a flicker of emotion, a yearning for something more.
This longing for redemption.
Reviewers seem to be digging his character art. What makes that kind of character so compelling, do you think?
Well, I think it's that contradiction, like we were talking about with the show itself, right? He's both the hardened killer and this guy who might have a chance at peace.
It's like he's defying a simple label. Good or bad, you know? Makes you wonder if maybe we're all a bit like that in a way.
Exactly. Maybe that's why we find it so intriguing.
Makes you want to keep watching to see which side wins out.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole power system in the show revolving around this concept of Tao.
Ah, yes, Tao.
This inner energy that fuels all those supernatural abilities.
So it's not just about brute strength.
No, it's about understanding and mastering yourself, your inner self.
That's interesting. Almost like those mindfulness practices people talk about in our world.
Right. Finding that inner balance, that control.
It's like they've taken a philosophical concept and turned it into a power source.
Exactly. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. Now, we can't talk about Hell's Paradise without mentioning the studio behind it, Studio MAPPA.
They've got quite the track record.
Yeah, big hitters like Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. And from the reviews, it seems like they're living up to that reputation with this show, too. Especially with the animation, those fight scenes are getting a lot of praise.
The visuals can make or break an anime, and it sounds like MAPPA's really delivering here.
Definitely. So does a studio's reputation sway you at all when you're deciding what to watch?
Oh, for sure. Especially in anime, the art style, the animation quality. It's all part of the experience.
Right, it sets the tone. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We've got some reviewers comparing Hell's Paradise to Naruto.
I can see the surface level similarities, ninjas, special techniques.
Yeah, the whole shonen action vibe, but it seems like Hell's Paradise is trying to do something different, even while playing with those familiar tropes.
Right, it's like they're taking those classic elements and twisting them, adding their own spin.
Like using those shonen tropes, the underdog hero, the quest for power, but with a darker, more complex edge.
Exactly, and that's what's sparking debate.
Oh yeah, some reviewers are absolutely loving the fast-paced narrative. They say it's dripping, keeps you on the edge of your seat.
But others are finding that pacing a bit too rushed.
Yeah, like they're sacrificing character development for action.
And there are comments about the character deaths being predictable, like you can see them coming a mile away.
Have you ever felt like a show's pacing completely made or broke it for you? Like it was either too slow or too fast to really get invested?
Oh, absolutely. Pacing is crucial. It can determine how you connect with the story, the characters, everything.
It's fascinating how differently people react to the same thing, huh?
And that's what's reflected in those IMDb scores. You've got everything from 5 to 10, a real mixed bag.
So what are those key elements that push someone to one side or the other? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Right. What makes someone love it and what makes someone just shrug and say, it was okay?
The mystery of audience taste. Now, speaking of cliffhangers, we got to address that season 1 ending.
Oh, that cliffhanger left a lot of viewers wanting more.
Maybe a little too much based on some of these reviews. It sounds like people are eagerly, maybe even impatiently waiting for season 2.
Yeah, you can feel that anticipation. But it's interesting, right? That cliffhanger, it can be a powerful tool to keep you hooked.
But it's got to be done right.
Exactly. It has to feel earned. Did it leave you genuinely wanting more? Or just frustrated because you felt manipulated? The reviews seem to be all over the map on that one. And that wait for the next season, it could feel like forever, can't it? Especially when a show leaves you hanging like that.
Yeah, and some of those expectations, from what I'm seeing in the reviews, are about those tropes and cliches, like, is this just another badass ninja who secretly wants to die story? But then you've got other reviewers who are praising the show for its blend of darkness and heart, like these deeper themes of redemption, searching for meaning, all that. It's interesting how divided people are.
It's a tough balance for creators to strike, isn't it? Trying to give the audience something familiar, something that hooks them, but also offering something new, something that surprises them. It sounds like some viewers feel Hell's Paradise leans a little too much on the familiar, while others are finding enough originality to keep them engaged. What about you? Do those tropes, those cliches bother you, or can you overlook them if the story's good enough?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I can appreciate a good trope done well, but speaking of things that divide viewers, we've got to talk about those character deaths. Several reviews mention them feeling predictable, especially when a character gets a tragic backstory moment and then boom, they're gone.
Ah, yes, the classic tragic backstory death flag. It's a technique as old as time, right? Amp up the emotional impact by giving us a glimpse into a character's past, their struggles, and then take them away. It can definitely backfire if it feels too obvious, too formulaic. What do you think? Does a predictable death ruin a show for you? Or can you still appreciate the scene if it's done well, if it has that emotional punch?
I think it really depends on the execution for me. If it feels earned, if there's that build-up, that sense of inevitability, then yeah, I can still be moved by it. But I did come across one review that really stuck with me. They called the show, get this, a masterpiece, but not for everyone.
Ooh, bold statement.
Right. Then they went on to say that maybe this generation of anime fans just isn't ready for something this dark and complex. Like, ouch, a little harsh.
That's pretty provocative. Makes you wonder, though, right, about how audience expectations shift over time. Are we, as viewers, getting used to certain types of stories, certain comfort zones, and then a show like Hell's Paradise comes along, and it's willing to push those boundaries, to delve into those darker, more unsettling themes? Maybe that's why it's getting such a mixed reaction.
It's definitely not shying away from the tough stuff. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. The visuals and music are getting a lot of love too. Several reviewers specifically called out that opening sequence, the animation, the song choice, everything. They were raving about it.
Studio MAPPA knows how to make an entrance, that's for sure. And those opening sequences, they're so important, aren't they? It's your first impression of the show, the tone, the style. A good opening can hook you instantly. A bad one might make you reconsider watching altogether. If you ever had that experience, like an opening theme song that just grabbed you, wouldn't leave your head.
Oh yeah, totally. Some of those anime openings are straight up bangers. But even with all the praise for the visuals, the music, the story, there's one thing that's causing some frustration, and that's the wait for season 2.
That cliffhanger ending, right, it left people wanting more, but also maybe a little impatient.
Yeah, it's like they got a taste of something amazing, and now they're left craving more, but who knows how long they'll have to wait.
That gap between seasons, it can be tough, especially these days when we're so used to having everything on demand. How do you deal with those long waits? Does it make you more excited for the next season, or do you start to lose interest?
Yeah, it's funny, huh? How waiting can totally change how you feel about a show.
It really does. Like, it makes you think about how much we crave those answers, that closure, even if we have to wait for it.
Well, fingers crossed, the wait for season 2 of Hell's Paradise isn't too brutal. But in the meantime, we've got these reviews to give us some clues. And it's been quite the ride going through all this feedback.
It has. We've seen the good, the bad, everything in between.
Right. From the praise for the visuals, Studio MAPPA really killed it there.
Oh, yeah, the animation is top-notch.
To the deeper stuff, those themes of redemption, searching for meaning.
And characters who keep you guessing. Are they good or are they bad?
But then we also had those criticisms, the tropes, the predictable deaths.
That pacing, that threw some people off.
But even with all that, it seems like Hell's Paradise is getting people talking. And that's got to count for something, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's pushing viewers to think about what they expect from a show, what they enjoy, and maybe even grapple with some bigger questions. What really stood out to you about this anime?
I keep coming back to that central question, the one the show keeps asking, what does paradise actually mean?
Right, it's baked right into the title, Hell's Paradise. Like finding peace in the midst of chaos.
And so many reviewers mention that, how the characters are all trying to find redemption or purpose in this brutal world.
It's that universal desire, isn't it, to find something better, something to believe in, even when everything's falling apart around you. Maybe that's why Hell's Paradise is resonating with so many people. It's tapping into something we all feel.
And sometimes that search for meaning, it means facing your demons, literally and figuratively, like with Gabimaru, our death row ninja on this quest for immortality.
He's such a fascinating character. He's a killer, but he's also capable of love, compassion.
Exactly. That duality, it's what makes him so interesting to watch.
He's a walking contradiction, a middle of light and dark. And maybe that's what Hell's Paradise is all about, showing us that even in the darkest places, even within ourselves, there's always potential for change, for something better.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I can't help but think back to that question we asked earlier about whether you would take that chance. To join the expedition, to find the elixir of life, knowing all the risks. Would you do it?
It's a tough question. What would you be willing to sacrifice for a chance at paradise? What lines would you cross? Hell's Paradise doesn't give us easy answers, but it makes us ask those hard questions about ourselves.
And sometimes, maybe that journey, that struggle, is more important than the destination. So as you continue exploring the world of anime, or even just figuring out your own life, remember, embrace the complexity. Don't be afraid to challenge those norms. And never stop searching for your own version of paradise, even if it means going through some pretty unexpected, maybe even hellish places to get there.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. We want to hear your thoughts on Hell's Paradise, on what paradise means to you. Shares your take. Keep the discussion going.
Until next time, keep diving deep.